Hello,
How are you?
everyone, and welcome to the student panel portion of this year's ABLE. I'm so excited that we've got students to come and lend their voices to what we're doing, and they are going to represent a full range of ePortfolio experiences. So we've got a couple grad students with us who one or two done ePortfolios 3 and 4 years ago. We have students with us who several years ago were in high school and did dual enrollment in an ePortfolio. We've got students who are relatively new to ePortfolio, did one in college in their early years, and then a couple kind of pros that do advising with ePortfolios. I'm going to say more than we have students because there's some overlap here. We've got a couple that have used ePortfolios in multiple environments and classes. So I thought this represented a good range. They are from several different universities, and we appreciate you, Olivia, Sophie, Michael, Brenna, Emma, Chelsea, and Anthony taking time to be with us today. Anthony, fresh from overseas. So welcome back to the States.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they just returned my suitcases, so it's a good day.
That's good. So I'm Debbie A. Schmeiner at IUPUI, and the way it's going to go today is each student's going to say hi. I'm going to ask a question, and everybody will settle in and share. The students will introduce themselves, and I'll click through a website they've built as a team for all of us here at ABLE to see some of their work. Then we'll have one other question and a few more introductions, and then the floor will be open. After about 10-15 minutes of Q&A, we will have breakouts. So if there's students you want to talk to in a little smaller setting, the students will be in 2 to 3 different breakout rooms, depending on how many people end up here with us today. So panelists, are you ready to say hi? Take it away, Olivia.
Hi, my name is Olivia and I'm from IUPUI.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm also from IUPUI.
Hi, I'm Emma and I'm from Indiana University.
Hi, my name's Brenna. I'm from Bucknell University.
Hi, I'm Chelsea and I'm from IUPUI.
Hi, I'm Michael and I'm from IUPUI.
Hey, I'm Anthony and I'm from my home school, but soon to be from Purdue University.
Well, welcome all of you today. And I want to open with a pretty general question. How did your ePortfolio experiences help you become a more successful student? Emma, take it away.
Yeah, so I would say that having the experience of a semester-long project that I am planning out each step of the way and have different assignments to show where I'm at with each step of the project is helpful to pretty much every it builds transferable skills for pretty much every other course that students take, and especially in professional settings, because the way ePortfolios are built follow a very similar structure with how a lot of projects I've been doing in my internship run. And so that experience has been immensely helpful with that.
That's great. Michael.
I would agree with what Emma said. I really like the organization part of it. For me, it's more about the final product and being able to organize an entire project and the process behind the project into a presentable and viewable kind of like artifact that can be shared.
Brenna.
So my ePortfolio was more assignment based, and it was kind of like a pathways where I had to explain or really discover like my major. So I'd switched from environmental engineering to electrical. So it was kind of like an adjustment for me. And it was really nice to be able to sit down and organize my thoughts and discover my interests, my passions through articles, through interview. Also, I was able to record some projects I did in my class. So it really helped me just kind of deal with my thoughts and put them in like a really personal way, but also that was really professional. I definitely love the reiterative process where I was able to go back and be like, you know, that doesn't really reflect me, let me change this. And I really got to personalize it and make it creative.
That's so fun. Olivia.
So my how it's helped me is that it's allowed me to pinpoint my specific areas of interest and reflect on the work that I've done in the past and display it along with the skills that I've learned through specific projects on my ePortfolio.
Chelsea.
My ePortfolio experience was originally course-based and has helped me in my academics through career goal setting and have a clear vision of my future path. I was a psychology major in my first semester of freshman year, and when I switched to exercise science, we had to make a course-based ePortfolio in which we established a career action plan, which truly gave me a clear opportunity to explore the career path that I would like to pursue after I graduate.
Anthony.
My ePortfolio experience was originally in Professor H. Meyer's class. Actually, I wish I could say more about how it's helped me, but unfortunately, I haven't actually been to college yet, so it will be limited. Or it introduced me to a way of sharing information with people in a way that updated in one place. Before that, I was definitely the kind of person who did in fact mail the manuscript of a story to one of my friends once. That's a done set thing that does not update as they look at it. That has pros and cons for me. It's a little, because I know that if I don't update it on time, people will see the website and see that it is unfinished. Overall, I think it is a good thing, even if it causes that stress. And for me, it also has really helped in that it's like a resume without being a resume. I've done a lot of theater on and off and had jobs, so my life has been full of resumes, and I never quite got the hang of how to write them. So having something that is just one step to the left made them a lot less intimidating to work on.
That's great stuff. Sophie.
I think drawing connections and making sense of everything that you're learning, because 4 years of college, you learn a lot. And so being able to actually reflect on the important things that you're getting, whether that's like the actual technical content that you're learning or the ways that you learned it, however that happens for you, reflecting on that and drawing meaning from it is what I gained a lot of appreciation for. It helped me with interviews for grad schools and things like that. So I think that's probably my biggest draw from ePortfolio experience.
Well, thank you all. We all love hearing like there are benefits for students, and then kind of fine tuning what some of those are. I'm gonna share screen now and show you the website that we've put together. The link is in the chat. Sophie, will you help me keep up with the chat?
Can do.
And what we'll do now is give you an opportunity to sort of meet the panelists one-on-one by looking at their pages. So Brenna, tell us a little bit about your ePortfolio, and as you do, I will scroll through it.
So again, my name's Brenna. My pronouns are she, her. I am attending Bucknell University for electrical engineering. And like I said, my ePortfolio was more assignment based, and it was for an introductory to electrical and computer engineering course, which it was more discovering my major. And then I had to reflect on 2 projects I did in that class. So kind of back to like the background a little bit more, I just wanted to reflect on, sorry, if you could scroll up a little bit.
Okay, sure.
You're good. So it's just kind of like the background. I had to go through like passions, my interests. Like I said, I switched from environmental, so I was really unsure of like my major and if this was the right decision for me. So it was really good for me to just write down exactly like what I wanted out of my major and really look at my passions and postgraduate opportunities for me. One of my favorite things from my ePortfolio was being able to do like research on 2 articles that I read. I found that really helpful because I wasn't really sure how to combine electrical engineering and sustainability together, but those really helped. And then I also had to do an interview with someone on campus, and she majored in electrical engineering, but now she's a professor, which is a possible route for me. So I found that really useful to just be able to actually reflect on it and have to write a reflection, even though it was assignment. Sometimes I was like, oh, I don't like, why do I have to do this? But that outcome of it was really, really pivotal for me. And then this is just an image of one of my projects that I had to create for my course. It was just a small IoT project. I won't go into it too much, but some of the challenges that I faced was trying to discern like the ePortfolio itself. I was looking at it very much as an assignment and not something that's constructive and could be used in multiple ways. So it was really hard for me to like kind of break away from that because it is a tool and I didn't really realize that it was a tool yet. Also, like trying to revisit it and like recreate it every time I came back and make it more me. I definitely had a hard time, just like I said, as an assignment. I was like, this doesn't like, how is this going to reflect me? I don't really know how to put myself out there in a way that's professional and online. And like the interface was very different from what I was used to. So what I like learned from it was really, really pivotal and super crucial for me. So I was able to really feel like I was in my major and I got to experience my major through writing about it, organizing my thoughts. It helped me plan out a summer research project that I was not really sure about. So it was really good for me to kind of settle in and really get into my major. I also found that having like the opportunity to be creative along with professional was interesting because usually I very much associated like academic with professional, and I don't really look at a way that I could introduce myself into that. So it was really nice to be able to look at my project and be like, this actually like reflects me, and this is like how I would look like if I was on like a website. And then you can probably scroll down. Thank you. So some takeaways and values was that I see the like multi-dimension to this, that this can be applicable in multiple ways. I can use this for interviews or even graduate school applications or jobs, something in the future. And I really like want to expand upon that and like explore ePortfolios more. It really inspired me by just doing this one assignment. And so this summer, I'm actually doing a summer research project at Bucknell. And one way that I want to be able to showcase this to possible graduate schools, like I said, that's a plan for me. So it'll be a good way to really take away, like show the takeaway of my experiences and highlight my college experience.
Thank you so much. I love hearing that faculty are giving you interesting things to put in an ePortfolio, and that the course assignment did in fact help you like decide on career paths and where you're going. Really, really wonderful stuff. So does anybody have a quick question for Brenna before we move on? Something in the chat? So I know we're covering a ton of material here, but I'm hoping it lays a foundation for some of the Q&A later as we move on. Chelsea, tell us a little bit about your work with ePortfolios.
So my experience, as I said, I have a personal course-based ePortfolio, which consists of a career action plan, my resume, my background, like just my life background, my life in India versus here. And then currently, though I'm a senior, I'm in my undergrad program for exercise science, and I recently joined the ePortfolio team as a student ePortfolio consultant on campus. It's very nice. Everyone is very sweet. And as an ePortfolio consultant, my job is overall to provide students with as many resources or guiding tools I possibly can to help them build an ePortfolio, or if they already built one, then help them better it, maybe if they want to, or if they want any advice or anything. That's what ePortfolio consultants are here for. And currently, I am participating in some research with Debbie on bettering our ePortfolio website. Just again, providing as many resources as possible, seeing what other universities are doing and how other universities, students partake in the how to and why to build an ePortfolio. It's a fun research. And my personal ePortfolio is, as I said, pretty fun to look at. If there's a TikTok there and there, but it truly reflects my personality. Half of it is very me, personal. I really do believe that a personal e-portfolio that is combined with a career action plan or your career path that you might want to take after undergraduate or something, it truly helps whoever you're presenting the e-portfolio to connect to your career path choices better. So yes, I would definitely say my takeaway from making the e-portfolio was that it truly helped me decide my career path and really understand it in ways of financially how stable I would be in the future after I graduate from graduate school, or just if it's the right career for me.
That's great stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. And there's some notes in the chat for you when you get time to click over. Emma.
Yeah, so when I created my e-portfolio, I was a dual enrolled high school senior. And fun fact about me, I was homeschooled all up until I went to college. So the e-portfolio experience, something that it really helped me with was building my confidence with college level academics, especially my writing skills. And sorry, you can scroll down a little bit. Thank you. And so while I'm not doing environmental sciences as my major, I'm actually an information security major, and then my minor is computer science and data science. I've been able to take a lot of those e-portfolio skills and transfer them into more of my technical projects. So there on the screen is a mock database I built for property managers to aggregate SQL data. And I attribute being able to build something like that over a semester-long project to my experience building the e-portfolio, especially with planning out the preliminary steps, going all the way on, continuing into the final stages where you're really fine-tuning that website. And something that I really like about e-portfolios as well is when you have an artifact of showing your skills and what you can do that's easily searchable, that's one of the first things that becomes associated with your name. I know first day of my internship, what my manager said to me was, "Hey, I Googled you and I saw this, and I just wanted to say how cool that was." And I think that's something that's really amazing for students to have. I know I'm really grateful that the first thing that comes up when you Google my name is the portfolio. That's something that I'm always going to be proud of having built that. And then where I am today, I'm currently a residential assistant, an undergraduate instructor, and a cybersecurity intern. And I really appreciate what the experience with building my e-portfolio has brought. It especially taught me to transfer my creativity into other aspects of my studies, like again with the project management database. I really drew a lot of skills from that. And yeah, so that's just a little bit about me.
No, thank you so much. It's so fun to catch up. And I hadn't been together for a few years, and it has been wonderful to talk with her and catch up on things. Just amazing stuff. Michael.
So I'm one of those people that Debbie talked about doing a lot with e-portfolios. I think I have like upwards of 5 to 10 of them. So the first thing you can kind of see is the amount that I've done. I've done them in a lot of different settings. I really enjoy using e-portfolios as presentation tools, and I've done that quite a few times, but I also have some experience doing it for project-based things, more like internship and long-based experience e-portfolios. And then I also have a personal e-portfolio that I kind of use, like other people have mentioned, as a resume or a different form of a resume. The first experience I had with e-portfolios was with Debbie as the W231 recommendation report, which is an e-portfolio that was turned over to a community client after we had done a semester-long project working with them to find a solution to a problem that they brought up with. I worked with a nursing home, and I was able, with the help of my teammates, to kind of give them advice on how to handle their staffing with nursing. The other ones I have, Debbie, if you could scroll down for me, are both related to more long-term project or experience-based activities. The first one is LHSI, and I know Brandy's in this call right now. It's a wonderful program. The other one is a CEA, which stands for Community Engagement Associates, and both of these had me work with a faculty member at my university to either complete an internship or a community-based project. And both of them were an opportunity for me to kind of take my experience and reflect on it and polish that into it. And I will say that that was a very useful part of the portfolio process for me. I was able to kind of leverage my LHSI experience into more research with them. And I attribute that to being able to reflect on both my experience within the lab and how I could grow as a professional and an academic. And the final one is my personal one, and this is the one I kind of treat as a resume. I keep it a little bit more professional than other people because I plan to kind of use this as a building block for my applications to graduate school and future forms of my resume or my CV. And then obviously my 231 project has been completed. Both of my LHSI and CA portfolios are completed, and my personal one is still under construction, but you're welcome to visit it and see what it's about.
Thank you so much, Michael. So what I'd like to do now is just open the floor for questions for Brenna, Chelsea, Emma, and Michael. And Chelsea, you're lucky. I think there's already one up here. So, oh, you already typed. You're doing two things at once. This is amazing. Other questions? Oh, I love that Christina pointed out that a couple of our panelists are returning. I wanted to do that. Like I want us to have students that we can kind of loop in from year to year to see how it's growing. So thank you for Christina for that reminder that we can go back and see before then. I think Michael's worked on at least 4 websites since last year, and Sophie's worked on like 17. So really, really cool stuff. Any other questions popping up that we have for the panelists we just heard from? Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Sure.
I actually have one question for Michael, since Debbie just mentioned also that you've been on the panel last year. So kind of putting you a bit on the spot here, being spotlighted. What has changed in your portfolio practice since then? Or what kind of have you learned, since you also mentioned you've been kind of a powerhouse creating portfolios? If you look back at them, what have you adjusted? What have you reflected on and changed in your practice?
I think that they come across a lot more polished now, and that has to do with being able to work with people who are experts at them, like Debbie, but also just getting more comfortable with the tools that I'm used to creating them. My first Wix ePortfolio was my personal one, and I only attempted to use that like kind of program after I had used an easier one like Google Sites quite a few times. I think I also have gotten a lot better about making them more cohesive across the whole thing, with both like the style of writing, but also design elements and just like functionality. I think that the more you engage with this style of tool, the better you get with it. And it is something that has a lot of transferable skills, but is also a transferable skill in and of itself.
Thank you so much. So some wonderful questions. I'm going to throw this one out there. Can one of you speak to the role of feedback? Did you get feedback through the process of creating the ePortfolio? And how did that help?
I can go since.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
Go ahead, Emma. Take it away.
Oh, Okay. So as far as feedback, it is super crucial. I know it was really crucial for me for building my finished project. Something that was actually required in my class with Debbie was we had to have at least one-on-one meeting where we were zooming, sharing screen, and going over and polishing up details. And I think that that one-on-one time that is kind of a flexible schedule, because I know it wasn't really like a set office hour time. You had times of the week you were available and we could sign up for a slot, and that flexibility was really important, especially because that was during COVID. And then the one-on-one time, especially just so that we could get feedback unique to us. And then also we had a lot of examples with kind of what our professor was looking for from us in terms of expectations, which I think was really important to give students a level to where they're supposed to aim for, and then they can take creative liberties as they're going along and making their portfolio really their own.
So Brenna, take it away.
So since mine was more assignment based, I like each section was graded. So I had to, it was more of like a reflective grading. It wasn't necessarily to like totally tear you down or anything like that, but it was just to bring points to your awareness that you could improve upon. And I would say that in the beginning, like the first couple of sections I created were very much like within the template, like didn't really express myself very much, nor like I didn't really play around with any of the tools or anything like that. But I think once I got feedback on like, maybe try making it more personal, like try to be more creative, I was like, I had to sit down and really like think about it and look at it and try and make it seem like I was shining through there, especially since it was my major, it was very personal to me. So I wanted to kind of really show that through there.
So, and Christine wants a little more clarity on the major and career planning aspect of the ePortfolio. How did that kind of inform and assure you that you were on the right path?
So when I came into Bucknell, I was pretty set on being an environmental engineer. And then I talked to some people, and it seemed like electrical would be better, but I was still like really unsure. But being able to sit down and actually like write out, I'm very much like I need to write out things and see how it looks to me on paper or even on my screen. So it was really good for me to look at my interests. We had to do values. We had to look at possible career options, things that we wanted to do and things that we definitely didn't want to do. So it really helped me narrow it down and actually explore my major a bit more than I had really thought to do myself. And since I was so unsure, I didn't really have that sense of belonging, but kind of being able to express myself creatively through being able to look at all of my interests and values and kind of look at articles and do an interview. It really helped me kind of settle into the fact that like, this is what I want to do. And I loved the interview part, especially just because I got to talk to somebody who, you know, actually went through the motions of being an electrical engineer, even if it wasn't at Bucknell. But I think just having something structured like that really helped me focus in and create even a schedule for myself.
That's great to hear. I think I wish I had had that assignment in time to figure out things. Chelsea, there was a question for you and you typed a response. Would you be willing for our recording to lend a voice to that?
Oh no, I forgot the question.
Now that you're
Back.
on the other side advising students, what do you wish the portfolio support staff had told you when you created your first ePortfolio?
I definitely think that, well, it was more course-based ePortfolio, so I would say the responsibility of like, you know, like keep making me keep up with that, or like helping me create a new portfolio better or just a successful one was on my professor due to it being a very career path based. But what did I say? I definitely think that they could have highlighted the importance of e-portfolios and how you could potentially use it further later on. I truly do wish more professors use e-portfolios as a guiding tool and also as just discovering yourself personally. But I really do need to repeat that. Like, need to see
You're
the
fine.
question again.
I
Sorry.
recopied your, it's up a little ways.
Response.
And then it has a drop down, but I doubled up on your response so that it'd be handy.
Yeah. So, and also encouraging us to put in, include all the experience that we have gained over all the semesters. Because I made the e-portfolio during my freshman year, and the last time, the next time I checked it was after 3 years later when I joined the e-portfolio team. Definitely wasn't up to date, but I had to, like, keep up with, like, just add in all the experiences I had acquired. So I definitely think that that would have been helpful. Like that communication part with the ePortfolio studio and the professors, like that would have done deal it.
So I want to make sure we have plenty of time to hear from the other few panelists and see their page. I am going to share screen again if I can get back to my Chrome. At least want to have the link. Okay. And I'm going to share screen. Make this a little bigger. Olivia, take us on a brief tour.
Okie dokie. I'm Olivia again. So my portfolio experience actually started in my associate's degree. I have my associate's in elementary education. And so for that portfolio, we actually highlighted how our assignments and lesson plans correlated with different state standards. So I was kind of like dipping my toes into e-portfolios. And as you can tell, it's very catered towards that career path, very kid-friendly. And I learned a lot just by making it. And it was a great experience overall, but it wasn't pivotal in my education experience as a whole as my next portfolio that I ended up making during my undergrad in psychology. I have my bachelor's in psychology, and during the WT 231 course that I took with Debbie, we worked with a community client, and that was where I really was able to dive into my interest in research and helping other people, and what that could look like in almost a volunteering space, in a community space. And ePortfolios really helped me lay out the process of how we came to the conclusions for our recommendations in a really clear and succinct way. And it also allowed me to make not only my research readable, but also visually interesting to look at. And that was something I really had a fun time doing. I kind of spearheaded that part of our project just out of pure interest. And so that taught me a lot in and of itself. And then I actually used that entire ePortfolio experience working with the community client and everything as my portfolio piece to get into grad school. And I've told Debbie this before, but I really do attribute that entire experience to what helped me prove kind of my skills and my abilities to my grad program, and kind of say like, hey, this is what I can do, this is what I have done, and this is why I think I would be a great addition to the program. And I ended up getting in, which was great. And ePortfolios are actually like a very big part of our program and the professional space later on. We continually will be adding on to them, and it will help us, in the future get hired, hopefully. So yeah, ePortfolios have like played a really pivotal a role in my educational and professional career path.
Thank you so much. Really amazing graphic design stuff too. Here's Sophie.
All right. Hi again, everyone. I just over the past year have had loads of new ePortfolio experiences as my experience and time with the ePortfolio studio on IUPUI's campus just continues. Currently, I'm in grad school as an IU Doctor of Physical Therapy student, but I'm continuing as an ePortfolio studio consultant. And so with that comes a lot of different new responsibilities. The first thing you'll see on my page is what started my ePortfolio journey. It was with Debbie, again, in her professional writing course. I did my recommendation report in an ePortfolio, and that kickstarted ePortfolio experience for me. And so later on this page, or I guess the next like 3 sections, I have an instructional ePortfolio. That is I think one of my main roles right now in my position at the ePortfolio studio is creating these faculty and student support sites. We call them instructional ePortfolios because I take what the faculty wants and sees as their goals with ePortfolios in their courses or programs, and I create an instructional site for both them and their students to use as they work through the ePortfolio requirements for that course or program. And so I have a QR code to one of them. It was for the honors program at IUPUI. I'm very proud of that one because it's like a fairly decent sized program on campus. And I'm really happy I got to be part of that. I graduated this spring, so I didn't have to make any portfolios and honor students, but I'd love to be supporting and helping the students that are currently doing it now. And I also did my capstone project the fall semester of my senior year. It was an ePortfolio project. I tied in my experience as a biology student to my pursuit of physical therapy as a career. And then finally, this one was really fun for me to make. I went on a study abroad trip to London over spring break, and that was my honors credit for that course. I was lucky enough to get approval for that. So my honors credit came from making an ePortfolio for study abroad. And so if you visit that, you'll see blogs about my time there. I made an interactive map of what I did. And I think that little list of 4 things that you can see just shows the span of what an ePortfolio can be and what it can do. And that's kind of, that's part of my pursuit as an ePortfolio guru, maybe? I don't know. That might be too much.
I would say aficionado.
I'm approaching that. I'm trying to get there, but yeah, that's the goal.
Thank you so much, Sophie. And as you can see, she brings so much to this. She had the opportunity to work with Amy Powell previously, to working with Rachel Swinford and me, and she's bridged that for us. And I think sometimes she knows more about all of it than we do. And I'm just so grateful that you're on board. Thank you so much. Anthony, take it away.
Hi, I'm Anthony again. Odd one out from Purdue University. Would love to say I'm representing the colors with the black and gold, but that's not true. I'm representing My Chemical Romance. Similar to Emma, I was also homeschooled my whole life, except for 9th grade. The W231 class with Debbie was my first real experience with like a university classroom setting. I don't have as much ePortfolio experience as the other students here. My excuse is that I'm 17 and disabled. I think it's a pretty good excuse.
You're fine. We need to hear from you because you give us a window into these early experiences.
I can tell you that there are going to be more ePortfolios in my future, like at least 2 just off the top of my head. My first was was my course-oriented ePortfolio, and one that I made with my teammates in Debbie's class. I am a neuroscience major, but I've always had like a strong interest in the humanities. we did a project for the Olanian Scholars Program at IUPUI, which focuses on research opportunities and scholarships for students of color. The Dr. Turley from the program wanted like help publicizing it and getting information out to the students. We made her recommendation report, and I started and never finished my personal e-portfolio for that class, which you can see on the screen right now. I'm sorry, I'm bad at this. Is there something specific you'd like me to say?
No, you're not bad at this. You're doing great. You're talking just about your experiences. So when your team was working on the e-portfolio, I know you helped with some of the design. What was that like to take all this research and all this work you did and digitize it for Dr. Turley?
Satisfying. I love
Good.
arranging things. It runs in the family. My mother is a digital assistant who works on people's spreadsheets. I worked at the UP packing boxes in efficient configurations. Information is much nicer when you can put it in boxes and then stack the boxes until they look nice and you can see everything.
I love that because you really can't do that with a white paper, right? It takes so having these visual options with e-portfolios is really wonderful. So I'm going to stop sharing and we can go back to everybody on screen. Maybe some.
I would like to say one last thing, which is that I think
Go ahead.
e-portfolios are going to be pretty important to me as a musician. Since Debbie's class, I have done 2 live gigs at local concerts, and my mom always tells me, if you want to be a musician, you've got to get yourself out there. And as an artist, portfolios are kind of what we do. Having a digital way of doing that is in a way much less intimidating. It's a quick link you can share with everybody. And this is becoming more popular with things like Linktree. You can have all your stuff in one place, and that is really handy.
So we have a question in the chat that I'll throw out there. Do you see value in retaining and continuing the development of your e-portfolios after you graduate?
I can speak on this even past the humanities. I'm a psychology major, and part of that as I'm entering my senior year is working on research with faculty, and a number of the faculty members I've worked with who participate in research who are preparing to participate in research do have e-portfolios that they update with their publications across multiple things. I'm working with a professor in the fall who I was interested in reaching out to and working with because she had an e-portfolio and because I was able to view all her research in that nice little like organized way. So I think that there's definitely room for it even outside of maybe what people traditionally associate with e-portfolios into STEM and other scientific based fields.
So I actually, to add to that, I think e-portfolios and carrying them on into the professional space is a really key component. And my program that I'm in now, a lot of the projects that we have, my professors will refer actually to our portfolios and say, you can use this as a portfolio piece. And I think that's really helpful to remind us as students that we can continue to build on to our e-portfolios and show future employers, hey, this is what we learned, this is what we did, and really highlight our skills later on.
I think I'd like to touch on it real quick from like a health professional perspective. So I'm in physical therapy school right now. And if I'm being like completely honest, I've never really thought about continuing my e-portfolio because it's like really hard to think that far in advance. But just, I don't know, just kind of thinking about it right now, I feel like as a health professional for my patients, I'm sure they'd like to know a little bit about who they're working with, right? So that could be a motivator for me to like continue with it as after I even graduate PT school. And I also think that I want to continue with like physical therapy research. And so what Michael was saying, how the individual he wanted to work with showcased their research on an e-portfolio, I feel like that's an excellent platform to do that. even in like the health realm. So that was a wonderful question, and it got me even thinking further into my future. So I appreciate the question, and hopefully, I don't know, it gets more familiar with that field of individuals.
Anyone else want to tackle that one?
I see a lot of value in retaining and like keep working on your portfolios after you graduate. And I haven't even started yet. My greatest e-portfolio related regret is that it is still not finished. I have not touched it since probably before the end of that class. Part of that is executive dysfunction. Part of that is lack of motivation. But it's a really good thing where you don't know when you don't know where to put something, you can put it on your e-portfolio. It's like a catch-all without looking like a mess. I have a lot of experience throwing various papers just into one big folder.
Yeah.
And an e-portfolio is a very nice digital way to deal with that problem. And then people think you're professional. So it's really a win-win.
So what we would like to do, we haven't ever done before with a panel, is go into 2 different rooms, okay, for breakouts. I love Gail's comment. She still hasn't finished her e-portfolio. So what I'm going to do, panelists, is I've made one modification to who's in which room. So Michael, you'll be in room 2, but I'm gonna go ahead and post these. So in room 1, we'll have Olivia, Chelsea, Emma, and I'll be in there. And then in room 2, we'll have Sophie, Brenna, Tone, Anthony. Sorry, oh, got a typo there. And Michael. And Christina, you've already got everything going. So if everyone can choose rooms, 1 or 2, those will be open very soon. Well, thank you all. We had a wonderful time in our breakout room. I know you did in the other breakout room. And I want to ask the students, what's it like to talk to faculty members and administrators and ePortfolio staffers in an environment like this? What's it like to be on this panel?
I will go ahead and say I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity. Any chance I can get to say how much ePortfolios have positively impacted my educational and professional career, I'm going to take it. It really has played such a large role in getting me where I am today. So I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd also like to say thank you. I know like accessibility for the neurodivergent is a big passion of mine, and it comes up a lot with ePortfolios.
Mhm.
It's something that makes life easier for us. It's something that makes life hard in many ways. So being on here is really freeing, also a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
But I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you, Anthony. It's imitating for me a little bit too, but I don't tell anybody. Go ahead. Others.
I know I'm really grateful to get to come back, especially after 3 years post having made my ePortfolio, and to share and reflect and share my experience with that. It's a super powerful tool for learning. Like I was saying previously, I still carry so many of those skills into all of my other academic courses. So Anthony, I'm happy that you especially get to have the experience building one at the age of 17, because it's the exact same experience. I feel like we're twins a little bit with that. But yeah, just wanted to say that.
I'll say that I've had a lot of amazing experiences through ePortfolios, and I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of faculty to help other students experience ePortfolios, and totally agree that ePortfolios are like really life-changing, and having that kind of platform and that tool is so powerful, especially early on in like an academic career. It really helped me figure out where I want to go. I've seen it help other students figure out what they want to do. So I'll also end on a thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk about this. Since I just made my first ePortfolio like a couple months ago, it's really neat to be able to hear other perspectives and be able to answer some questions and try and help other people figure out if that's something that they would want to do. And I'm excited to continue pursuing more portfolios for personal life or for professional life. I think that it's really nice to hear about it and be able, this is my first conference, so it's really nice. Like the environment's really friendly too. So thank you.
I hope you have many more. We want you to be a rock star professor in your field. Yes. Other comments?
As Brenna said, that for a lot of us, this is our first conference. And for me, this is like 1 month into working at an ePortfolio studio. Like, whoa. But thank you for the opportunity. No, seriously, thank you for the opportunity. I feel it feels like an experience to remember and to learn from in a good way. Thank you.
I'm learning so much from everybody on the panel. Like, Anthony, you're so young. Like, I'm not even that much older than you, but like you've provided such incredible insight that I know that I'll be able to carry with me as I continue in this position at IUPUI. So thank you for all of the, I don't know, all the panelists are doing great. Learning so much, even as another panelist. So hopefully everybody else can take something away from it as well.
And I want to say thank you to all of you. I mean, so these people rehearsed, they built a website and just for ABLE, right? Just for this opportunity. And I usually make them play with me again afterwards for a reflective time. For those that are interested in doing that, we sort of have a Zoom after. So they work hard on their on these presentations, and they're amazing. So big applause for all the students who came today. Thank you so much. And thank you, ABLE, for always keeping a door open for the student panel. And Tracy, I'll hand off to you for closing comments. You have 1 minute.
Of course, there's a dog barking right in this moment, but I just want to say, Brenna, I'm glad you've had a good, positive first conference experience. I hope that all your other conference experiences are equally positive, and I hope everyone else has had a good experience as well. I can just say from all of us, you are so insightful and always, I mean, I think students always remind us to keep students at the heart of everything we're doing. And you're kind of in a situation where you're surrounded by people in this community that really do care deeply about students and want to create opportunities for them to learn in the best and deepest ways possible. So fantastic role modeling from all of you, and we just appreciate hearing your perspectives so much. So thank you for taking the time out of what I'm sure are busy schedules to play with Debbie before and during and now after, I'm understanding. So hope that sounds like fun, but I know she's a great person to work with as well. We like working with Debbie here at ABLE. So thank you, Debbie, for the organizing and for all of the work that you've all done. It's just been a real treat to get to have the last hour and a half with you.
So Christina, moderator, we hand off to you to tell us how this ends.
Sure. Well, you're way ahead of time because we still have 5 minutes. So if anybody has a last burning question they would like to ask, or maybe actually also students on the panel, if you have questions for any one of us,
yes,
then we do have the time because we still have 5 minutes left.
This is great. I had the wrong time written down. I was just so happy to do anything on time, and I'm early. This is great.
Tracy, yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead,
I just have a quick question about like what professors or even deans are doing like themselves with ePortfolios. Like what kind of projects do you have?
Yeah, good question.
Oh, Brenna, that is such a good question. My current, I mean, I'm not teaching at the moment, which is kind of one of my biggest sadnesses because I love working with my students, but I'm working more with faculty, but I'm using portfolios in my current context to really document what's happening in the faculty that I'm the dean of, because I'm finding that folks are not that great at sort of showcasing all the amazing things that my faculty members are doing with their students. So a portfolio to really make that visible is sort of what I'm working on, and parallel to that, portfolios for knowledge management purposes, because at universities, you might be surprised to hear about those students, but we're not very good at keeping track of all the projects and things that, you know, have been underway. And that is true in terms of ePortfolio projects. Sometimes somebody goes on to a new job or something else, and it's sort of like, well, there's all the knowledge about that project gone with them. So the fact that you've made a portfolio documenting what happened at this event is exactly what I'm passionate about. So that's just from my perspective, but what a great question. Because I'm sure it seems like, what do the faculty do over there anyway?
In a similar vein, I have to know, do you guys go back and look at our ePortfolios? Are there long-term returns we don't know about?
Ooh. Yes. So and I'm not sure how, I just look at them like gloating, like, oh my God, look at this great stuff, you know, and that's part of why I love our showcase. So I can get back to stuff really quickly online. I don't have to go into Canvas and click through 1,000 different classes kind of thing to get to it. But there's some assessment experts in the room. How about one of you let us know how you were using ePortfolios for programmatic or university level assessment?
Do you have any particular person in mind whom you would like to answer in the next minute and a half so I can spotlight them and see if we can add another spotlight?
Oh, I don't know. Tracy, do you guys use it for assessment? Somebody was up here earlier talking about assessment. No, I don't, Christina.
I can speak to one thing that happened at San Francisco State University. So there's a cycle that you may have heard of called accreditation, where the campuses basically get reviewed to make sure they can still give out degrees and certificates. And so this happens every 7 to 10 years. And some campuses will use student ePortfolios as evidence that students are meeting the program goals that have been set, whether it be engineering for Brenna or I know it's not beekeeping, but I just love the fact that Emma had that in her portfolio. So anyway, the thing that I am encouraging institutions to do is to make sure that students know that their work is being used in this way, so they have a right to say, well, frankly, that's not my best work, and so, or that's not the final version, or I don't want you using my work for that purpose. And so the idea is that campuses do use ePortfolios as evidence for things that they are on the hook for, the same way that you use them as evidence for you to reach your personal goals.
Good answer, Kevin. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that is the last word for this session. So thank you very much, everybody. All the students, just going from the top of my screen. So that is Chelsea, Sophie, Olivia, Michael, Emma, Brenna, and Anthony. Thank you very much for all your insights, for sharing what you have been doing, asking us questions, and we look forward to seeing more portfolios of yours and seeing how you evolve through them as you continue in your studies, and also as you join the professions that you want to join later on. So have a wonderful rest of your day.